Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hey there, Fun and Games folks. My name is Ian R. Buck. I am a podcaster from St. Paul, Minnesota. I used to have a video game-based podcast, but that was way back when I was in college. These days, I run a show called The Extra Dimension, which is all about the various ways that technology intersects with other parts of our society. I'm here today to talk about Gone Home, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Gone Home is a game that really kind of crystallized at the time that it came out anyway. It crystallized like the whole debate over what is a game, and it became kind of an emblem of the so-called walking simulator genre. I teach game design classes at a high school, so like we could get into the academic definition of what a game is, but I'm really not interested in that debate at all. It is interactive media, and that's all that I care about here. So it's a story-based game, and I've always really been more drawn to games with like strong stories versus games that have like a lot of multiplayer aspects to them, or even like I kind of emphasize stories over having like good gameplay, really. And this game, not only is it story-based and it has like a really, really well-told story, but also it's a game that like respects my time, which as an adult now, like I have come to value that aspect of a game as well. It takes just over 2 hours to play through like the first time that you're playing it. So let's talk about the story in the game a little bit. It is set in 1995, and you are playing as Katie, who's a college-age kid who's been traveling in Europe for the last year. And while you were gone, your family moved to a new house, so you, the player, and also Katie, the in-game character, have no experience with this house that you're exploring. But so you arrive home and nobody's there. And you're very confused about this. You don't know where everybody is, what's going on. And so your job in the game is to just walk around the house and pick up objects, pick up documents and clues and things, and kind of try to figure out what's going on. What has your family been up to during this last year? What has happened in their lives? And that's part of the reason I think that this game was set in 1995, because like it's way more plausible back in the 90s that there were like lots of physical artifacts and especially like written documents that would tell the story of these people's lives. Like if you were going to take this concept and try to do it nowadays, it would be like, well, I'll walk over to my dad's computer, and then, like, if I know his password, I'll get into his computer, and then I can, like, browse a bunch of files and, see, look at his emails and see what's been going on in his life. That's not very interesting. It's much more interesting to just, like, walk around in a house and see everything in that way. The story that they're telling here is really, really heartfelt. It's very queer. There's the main subplot is about the younger sister who has been like kind of discovering herself, and you get to kind of explore that along with her as you're like reading through a lot of the like the short stories that she used to write as a kid, and then see how they change as she's like grown up, and she meets some new people at her new school, and figuring out how she feels about them is a huge part of the story that they're telling in this game. There's also a few other subplots that aren't quite as fleshed out as the younger sister's storyline, and some of them actually are like red herrings, which is pretty fun. There's like the game, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but the game kind of plays with you a little bit on like on your expectations and everything, especially given like what games typically do when they have you like exploring around in an unknown environment. I will say that some of the like documents, especially the ones that are supposed to be handwritten, can be kind of hard to read. I do wish that the developers had included like, just some text version of those like handwritten documents that you could see like alongside the documents while you're looking at them. But that's, I was able to read all of them after, a little bit of struggling. One of the reasons that I love this game so much is because it is a really interesting example of like good level design. I have found as I started to do a video game based podcast, and then also now as an adult teaching game design classes at a high school, that I definitely have a much more like academic interest in games these days than just a pure like, well, let's play this game because it's fun. So I love the level design in this game because like the house is organized in such a way that the player is guided down individual storylines pretty darn consistently, pretty well. You could skip over stuff and accidentally like, discover bits of the stories in out of order, or even like, just like miss entire parts of the story. But so they give you like complete freedom in that sense, but they have laid out the rooms in this house in a very particular way that like it funnels you into finding all of this information in the order that you're supposed to. Like I said earlier, it does take like 2.5 hours to finish the game the first time that you're going through it. But like once you have seen everything, once you know what you're doing, you could load up the game and complete the game in under a minute, because the area that you have to get to in order to like finish the game is actually accessible right from the beginning. You just have to know what you're doing. And so it's that, like the whole gating of knowledge that they're using and using the level design to kind of slowly build what you know within this world. When I picked this game as the one that I wanted to talk about, I realized that, I haven't really played it since the first time that I played it back in 2013. And so I fired it up again and went back in and played it. And I'm very excited to see that like they have achievements now. So even though you might argue that like, well, there isn't really a whole lot of like choice or skill involved or whatever in the game itself, the existence of these achievements, does add a meta level of like challenge that you can put yourself to. After I finished the game, I had only gotten 1 out of 10 of the achievements. So now I have a little bit of a task. I've got to go back and load it up and, try to get a few more of those, because I try to do 100% completion in as many of the games as I can. And a short game like this, I feel like maybe I should be able to do it. I hope I can do it. Also, I'm very excited that they have a developer commentary now. I'm such a sucker for developer commentary tracks in games. I first encountered them in like the Portal games and Half-Life, and whenever a game has one of those available, like, I just eat it right up. And I'm very much looking forward to checking that out. Also, I have some good news for Matt. This game, even on PC, it does support controllers. I was playing it with my Steam controller because that's my preferred controller. But it should work with just about any controller that you can plug into a PC. And if you're a video game aficionado, which I assume you are since you're listening to this dorky podcast, you might notice some little references to other games here in Gone Home. In particular, the one that I noticed was it's a reference to System Shock, BioShock, and Deus Ex. Those series all have a little something that the developers of Gone Home put into this game. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So if this sounded interesting to you, I definitely highly recommend checking out Gone Home. It's a great game, great story, respects your time. So go off and enjoy that. Happy gaming! Technology is ever evolving. It touches every part of our lives, both influencing and being influenced by society. I'm Ian Arbuck, and I know it's hard to stay on top of everything you need to know to live in this digital world. That's why, every month on The Extra Dimension, we explore a different aspect of the technological convergence. Find it on our website, thenexus.tv, or by searching for The Extra Dimension in your favorite podcast player.
We've made difficult decisions.
And there are still more ahead of us.
2 people aren't enough to save the galaxy.
We need the toughest,
Smartest.
deadliest allies.
We need you.
We need you to join us.
And listen to Reignite.
A certain point of view podcast about storytelling
Love.
and Mass Effect.
Join us every other Thursday as we fight for the fate of an entire galaxy.
You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts.
Or at certainpov.com/reignite.
We're counting on you.
We should go.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.